Okay, welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the official Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney. Obviously, for your Friday night pint, something a little bit different, just a casual chat on a Friday night where we sort of look at the week that was and the week ahead, etc. So, obviously, big week ahead for Manchester United in regards to our latest cup final against Southampton in the top four race. But, Rob, from It's a Football Thing, how are you, mate?
Always well, and always great to be back at the pub. Always enjoy it. Friday night's a special one. Don't have to go to work the next day. So, yeah, always looking forward to talking football and United with you.
Well, watching Man United sometimes does feel like work. But as I said, from It's a Football Thing, Rob, there is a link in the description to his channel with a few mates. Obviously, talk a lot of Premier League football. So go give them a follow and a subscribe. And more importantly than It's a Football Thing and Manchester United, obviously, you can see from the flag in the background, part of the Man United Supporters Club. We've sort of spoken for the last couple of weeks about this, a rare Saturday night kickoff for us Sydney Manchester United fans. So we will be at the pub tomorrow night, a few of us, and well, more than a few of us, but especially some of the podcast listeners. We've done this before. The last one, I think, or the last night game was the Manchester Derby, which went horribly wrong. But while it went horribly wrong, Rob, we're still doing it this time because it is a good night when we get out and watch United together.
100%. Look, I think the pre-game is the best part of the night. Have a feed, have a drink, get together in person, not over a screen like this. And, football is always on the agenda, and then obviously the lead up's always fun. I know tomorrow night for the supporters, they've got the Robbo movie. That should be great. And then I'm sure we'll be all G'd up, and hopefully United don't disappoint us.
I'm just laughing at the feeling. Like I've said it all week, I can see Ward-Prowse free kick going in at some stage. Hopefully we're 5-0 up when that does happen. But Southampton were very good against Tottenham during the week and actually helped us. So fair play to Southampton. That was a big result for us. But we will get into the Southampton preview towards the end, and we'll sort of. There's a lot of news we're going through before we went on air. What should we talk about? As I said, it's a very casual chat. So if you are in the live comments, if there's anything you want to discuss or any questions, throw it in. Feel free, and we'll sort of just bounce off everyone's ideas. But yeah, big game against Southampton. But a few guys in the chat, obviously, Mad from the Supporters Club. Hope to see you there tomorrow night, mate. Evening, lads. Ryan as well from the Supporters Clubs. Their next two games are must-win games now, which I couldn't agree more. But we've been saying that since like September. So I don't think there's. I think we'll be saying that for the rest of the season. George, always good to see you, mate. And where is Larry? He's at dinner tonight. He does send his apologies, but he has assured me that he will be at the pub tomorrow night. So yeah, fingers crossed he does join us, and we've got permission, not permission from the pub. The pub are obviously very good friends of us, but we will most likely, again, result pending. If we win, we will record a podcast in the pub after the match. But as I said, if Southampton do get a late winner, I think the pub will empty pretty quick. And it will be a better night with MAGUIRE who's bench, which we'll get into that. That's one of the first topics in regards to not only the team selection when we get into that in regards to the end of the podcast when we preview Southampton, but just the narrative around MAGUIRE at the moment in general. Forget this one game. It's just the bigger picture. He needs to be dropped now. We can talk about the captaincy, but just in regards to his performances, we can talk about his quotes as well as captain, but just he needs to be taken out of the firing line for his own good, for the club's good, and for the fans. Because as I said now before kickoff, if his name comes through, Rob, and Harry Maguire's captain, starting next to Rafael Varane, it's going to put a downer on the night. I can assure you that.
I'm gonna have to need a few more drinks if I see him on the lineup with the captain's armband tomorrow night, because he just doesn't deserve it, and it's clear as day. Like if Victor's available, from what we've seen, him and Rafael, they definitely complement each other when they partner each other. And exactly what you said, for all those reasons, just too much negativity around Maguire at the moment, and to an extent, I feel for him because captain of one of the biggest clubs in the world, and this year has just been an absolute shocker for him. I've got to give him credit to even turn up to training and even wanting to play, mate. He does need to be taken out of the limelight. The stress he must be going through, I do feel for him a bit, because at the end of the day, as a human being, yes, he's a footballer and we're going to criticize, but he has a lot on his plate. And take him off, let Victor and Sting play. And like I said, these are must-win games, so we need a strong partnership. What he done the other day, I don't think it would have been pumping much confidence back into him.
It would be interesting to see, like, we talk about footballers and like mental health has become a thing, and sort of rightly so over the last couple of years. But we look at that and like a player's quotes or the way they carry themselves in press conferences, and then ultimately how that carries over onto the pitch. But you talk about a Harry Maguire and how he's going to be dealing with that, and we look at the player and the person, and you look at interviews in football are very structured in regards to their very media, or a lot of the players are very heavily media trained. But you look at compare it to like a boxer or a MMA fighter in terms of the way they talk before a fight. And they're always just, no matter what they're feeling inside, and inside they would be absolutely scared shitless. They'll be so nervous that it's filled with so many doubts. However, what they say in a press conference, I'm going to go and smash this guy and beat him up in 30 seconds. But inside, they're absolutely dreading it. Like even the most confident of fighters are filled with fear. And I just think Harry Maguire, he's coming out and saying, well, he's actually saying all the wrong things in the press conference a lot of the times, but by the textbook, he's saying the right things. Yeah. But deep down, he would be feeling like that. He would feel like he doesn't want to go out on the pitch because he knows the world cameras are on him. And ultimately, he's not performing at the moment. So it must be a horrible feeling for him.
Oh, can you imagine after all his bad performances, he literally says the same thing. You know, after it's like you said before and after pregame, yep, we're pumped. We're going to go hard. And then the next week, yeah, no, we just didn't do good enough. It's not good enough. We're going to have to work harder and try and do better next time. Like, you can put that on repeat for how many times this season. But at the end of the day, he must hate fronting the cameras knowing that he hasn't performed up to, you know, we've seen him for England at the Euros. We've seen him last year, you know, but this year it's been a no-no. And he's, like I said, he's just not in form at all.
Definitely. Ryan here from the Supporters Club, not seeing United win at the pub. Look, it's got to happen at some stage. A lot of people do have that feeling, Ryan. They always message us and say, I've never seen us win at the pub. And ultimately, sometimes it does change eventually. So make sure you're there tomorrow night and maybe get the hoodoo off your back. And Andy Bennett, good to see you, mate. Evening, Tom and Rob. Always good to have you here, mate. Hope you are keeping well. So before we get into a lot of things, Ronaldo, Ralph, Rashford, and we're going to come back into Harry Maguire in a little bit, and obviously the Southampton preview towards the end. But just a little bit, and I don't want to say this tongue-in-cheek, but we're obviously talking of the January transfer window, and are we going to sign any players? Are we going to sell any players? But ultimately, in regards to what we want as fans, there was no new signings. So there was a lot of frustration around the sort of the camp, the clubs, the players, the fans, whoever you want to look at. A lot of frustration that we didn't sign anyone. More importantly, the club got what they wanted. There was a new signing for the club, Rob, and a new shirt sponsor. I don't know what it is. I'm still not in that sort of loophole and know exactly what is happening. You're going to need someone a lot smarter than me to explain exactly what they are. But the club would, obviously, this was probably done 6 months ago in terms of the actual deal. So obviously they weren't working on this during January, and obviously a very different department doing these deals. But the narrative we read as fans when we click on a headline, this is the signing Man United made in January instead of any footballers.
Yeah, well, this is the one that I'm sure the Glazers would love, you know, to fill their pockets with. Because, look, at the end of the day, it's a pretty nice, clean, you know. A lot of people will be jumping on this pretty quick. It's clean. It's nice. I like it. But, you know, it's not what we want. It's just going to, you know, get what they want on the commercial side and help the game off the field. And I find it funny. I was actually reading up, and I think the head of the whoever organized all this stuff, she goes, partnerships are the core of our strength as a club, supporting the drive for success on the pitch. I'm like, well, I feel like I've been hearing that for 10 years. All this stuff, we're going to get success, we're going to push, and mate, I feel like we're going backwards at this time. We're stuck in the mud at the very least. So it's just.
Where do you find it in regards to, look, Manchester United at its core? What we like to think at its core is a football club, obviously. However, in terms of what it has sort of developed into and this global franchise entity, whatever you want to describe it as, this absolutely huge business, when we sort of break everything down in a layman's terms, we just sort of look at the Glazers and we point to them and say, okay, you can sort of get sponsorships like this and you can invest and you can get your money this way. However, surely just a more simple way is to do the right football things and win football matches. And that will sort of, the money will come in then. Do you think that is too much of a basic view of it, or it really is just simply comes down to that? Because this is where they do look in terms of the big money. But surely if you're just successful, you will get that big money. Or is that just too naive to think that way?
I don't know. Look, it's the way we think because we're football people. At the end of the day, they're not football people. And like I said, not that I want to bring them up here, but it's what annoys me so much about, you know, a club like Liverpool, how, you know, for instance, they got their new Diaz signing the other day. Like, I know he's only played 1 or 2 games, but the way they sign a player for a good fee, you know, they want to continue. They want to build. They can see a bit of a future. You know, some of the other boys could be wanting to leave. They're getting a bit older. Let's bring in a new guy to replace straight away. Let's continue success while they're successful. And then, like I said, they're going to continue. Like, people are going to want to sponsor and want to be around. As we were for, you know, 2 decades, everyone want to be affiliated with us because we're winning or we have a winning mentality. So, yeah, the naive and easy way is to say, do the football talking on the pitch or use footballing decisions to make us successful instead of just going out and making us a franchise that are going to fill the pockets of the Glazers.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just one comment here before we do move on. Ugly Bear, hope you're keeping well, mate. Always good to have you here. Obviously, we started with Harry Maguire at the start of the podcast, and I think before we get into the Southampton preview, we'll just discuss Maguire and I think we'll combine both. Obviously, they'll go off on different tangents a little bit, but just them in general. In terms of this Southampton, and whether it's a broader picture, if you want to look sort of more advanced into the transfer window at the end of the season or just into this Southampton game, surely, look, I've seen your team selections and we'll bring them up a little bit later. One is Rashford in a different scenario. Obviously, we're both in full agreement that Harry Maguire needs to be dropped. Are you putting Rashford in that category? Because I think he's in that category of needing to be dropped. I'd hate using this word, but I'll say it. Like people say, I'd be disgusted if he starts. Obviously, that's not the case, but I'm on the verge that I think he's in that category of Harry Maguire where he shouldn't be playing. However, obviously, in terms of numbers and options up front, you can draw up a scenario where he needs to play. But do you put him in that category for me, or do you still think he hasn't been as bad as Maguire?
Oh, look, I haven't been as ruthless as you. I don't think it's been as bad as Maguire. At the same time, though, I think he should be dropped or more easily. Should someone else be given a little bit of a chance? I agree on that. Obviously, Alanga's there to fill in, but like we said at the start of this pod, every single game is literally a must-win, especially these next two with the March we've got coming up. And you got to be, or Ralph's got to be brave to say, hey, am I going to put in one of our young academy players? Rashford is an experienced player now. He is supposed to be one of the leaders of the team. He's been there for a long time. He's done it. Like it's a hard decision to say, okay, I'm going to drop you and put a Langer in, because at the end of the day, when Rashford's on his day, he should be starting. Yes, he doesn't deserve it, but like I said, look, he could be brave and we could see Langer start over him. I don't think so, especially because I like Langer a little bit off the left, and as we've seen for the past few weeks, he's been playing Sancho off the left and Rashford off the right, so that might be playing into his advantage as well. But look, I'm not as hard on you as Rashford. Like I said, he could come up tomorrow and he could win us the game, and it'll all be swept under the carpet. But yes, there's definitely a point for him to be dropped.
Well, our last win, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I can't tell you the last time. I think the last time we won was a last-minute Rashford winner.
Yes, it was. Yeah, nice finish as well. Yeah.
But sort of on that and moving forward in terms of we sit here and we don't have the full answer. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what happens behind the scenes at football clubs, let alone a club like Manchester United. There are so many leaks. We hear so many stories from behind the scenes, but we all have different opinions on reasons for that. We've all sort of, and I think lazy, well, I don't know if it's lazy, but this sort of narrative or this sort of rumor has been going around for a while. And the sudden sort of talk around the club is about player power and their influence in everything. Harry Maguire and Marcus Rashford, and I've sort of not accused Marcus Rashford of this. It's not his fault. This is managers and clubs. I look at it and think there's always been a feeling in my mind where the player power can almost pick the team. And I'm not saying Harry Maguire and Ralph and Marcus Rashford are going into Ralph's office and saying, you're playing us this week. That's not the case. I just think the influence they have puts doubt in a manager's mind, because the manager's here or got this presence in front of him of a big 2 England internationals. He's got the voice from upstairs saying these are important players for us. And ultimately, that's whether subconsciously or consciously influence his decision. And that is what I think of player power. Do you think that actually happens, whether it be with Solskjaer, Jose Mourinho, or even a Ralph Rangnick now? Do you think it actually is player power almost choosing the team? Like, can you see a situation where Ralph Rangnick does want to drop Harry Maguire and Marcus Rashford, but ultimately, whether he knows he's doing this or not, will ultimately cave to them and select them, because it's a hard one.
It is a hard one. Look, Ralph puts when I look at Ralph, I think he's actually pretty cutthroat. I think if you're not playing good, or I don't think the whole player power thing with him affects him too much. Maybe compared to an Ollie or the previous managers before, definitely Ollie. I think the player, especially because he's a part of the club for such a long time, he wants to play the youth. He wants to play the United Academy players. And someone like a Rashford, with all the stuff he's done off the field, he would definitely have power. And if you're looking at a player power, Rashford, I reckon he's just got just as much power as Ronaldo at United at the moment. But for Ralph, I think he's pretty cutthroat. Like I said, we've seen him rest Ronaldo midweek when you'd think nearly everyone would have had Ronaldo on their planes to start the match, and he made a decision. He goes with it, and we can see sometimes he's a bit too honest with his press conferences. I think he wants to try and put his stamp on, I'm the man picking the team. I've got the power.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's a comment here from George, which I want to get into. It sort of leads nicely into the next point, but Emad, good mate of ours, who will be seen tomorrow night, just joined it on a scale of 1 to Larry. How late am I? Not too late, mate. Maybe in number 6 or something. And I've just seen a few comments in here as well with Matt and Emad talking about Bruno Fernandes as captain. I'd like to see that discussion continue tomorrow night at the pub, please, lads. I'll stand on either corner. That will be fascinating viewing. Two very different opinions on Bruno Fernandes there. And so Ryan, here in regards to Bruno Fernandes, Bruno's been in a little rut as well. The whole squad is in bits at the moment. No one seems to have the right mentality of the present at the moment. And ugly bear here. I know most fans starting to dislike Rashford, but we have to remember Rashford is already 13th in the all-time goal scorer. And along with Martial, they both have carried this Man United team, which is one of the things, and I'm guilty of it with Marcus Rashford I find myself hating my opinions on Rashford because I absolutely love the guy. I really like Marcus Rashford. But yeah, his football, it just frustrates me like no other. And maybe that is because he has all the ability, not the ability in the world, but he can be special. And I think he really does have what it takes to become a Manchester United legend, even if he's not the greatest of footballers. I do think he has it in him. Unfortunately, in my opinion, he's not showing that at the moment. But you won't find anyone happier if he does turn it around. But there was a comment earlier just here from George, which I want to get into. And funny how the players want Poch. I don't want play power to influence us anymore. One of the stories coming out, and look, I'll get your thoughts on the story first, but then I'll give my thoughts on, I'd say, the validity of the story. But the current rumor going out now is that a number of players, now is this one player, is this 22 players? Some players want Pochettino as the next manager. That is the story. I haven't even read the article, but that is the headline. I have no idea. I'm not even given it the time of day to click on it. But like we had John Silk on here a couple of weeks ago, and these these rumors and these stories, where there's smoke, there's fire. So there must be something there. Now, is this Samuel Luckhurst, who I think he broke the story? He's come out and he just had a chat with Luke Shaw, and Luke Shaw said, yeah, I think Pochettino would be a good manager. And then he said, the players want Pochettino. Do you think it's a story like that, or do you think this is a case of this rumor going, or not this story, that the evidence that we have regarding play power and their influence? Do you think they would really sort of be going upstairs and telling boardroom members and telling influential people at the club, this is the manager we want?
Look, I'm naive as well. Look, I don't think that would happen. And I think if the board was to sit down, look, it's nice for them to take in a bit of input and the players would be maybe, if they're looking at a certain coach that they think will help for maybe a connection wise and stuff like that. But we need people making right decisions, not players, because, the first thing that's going to happen if Poch does come in and, apparently all the players want him, and 4 weeks down the track, if he's not performing and the team looks like they're not playing for him, what are we all going to say? Oh, the players want him, but now they're not playing for him, kind of thing. So, look, player power, sometimes it's a bit of clickbait, or, with United, we are the biggest sieve in the world. How all these stories get leaked from one thing and blown out of proportion to another. It's crazy. But look, play power is always going to be now. It's modern. It's part of modern football, and it's not going to go away. So we'll see.
Do you think United can put an end to that, or do you just think it's a case of journalists now? Because a journalist 10 years ago would put a story out a week, maybe, or a fortnight, or a month. Or I don't know what the case is in terms of an exclusive. Now you can see him put 2 or 3 out a day. And so whatever they put out by 6 o'clock that night, it's a forgotten story. They're onto a new angle. So people forget all these little stories. And do you think there is, and I don't want to accuse journalists of this or anyone in the media of this, but do you think there's just a case of they'll simply just make up something just with nothing there, just, okay, we'll put this out for a couple of clicks sort of thing. And there's a case of, let's say this story is 100% true. It could be. However, there is a very strong case. It's simply nothing. It could be Samuel Luckhurst talking to Dean Henderson or Luke Shaw and saying, what are your thoughts on Pochettino? And Luke Shaw says, I'm sure he's a good manager. A few of the boys have discussed it. And that's all it was. A few of the boys discussed Pochettino. And then he's run with a story saying the players, because the narrative at the moment, we all hate the players and their influence in the team. This will roll the fans up. Say the players want Pochettino, because I'd say, 80% of the fan base probably don't want Pochettino. They want Ten Hag. This will roll the fans up. And I just think, I don't want to take that away from you if it's a true story and a valid story, but the cynic in me just sees straight through it.
Like we said, the power of social media, the power of technology. We were talking about this on our show the other night. Everyone's got a phone. Everyone's got a recorder. It's so easy for traction to gain. And when you got a club of United stature, good or bad news in United is news at the end of the day. And, if it's clickbait or if it's true, journalists are going to jump on anything, any kind of news they can leak, or any kind of, like I said, a whisper they can turn from this to this. They'll blow out of proportion just to get people clicking on links at the end of the day, man.
Yeah, definitely. Andy with a big shout here. Definitely Andy's words. Don't quote anyone from the podcast on this, but Declan Rice should be the next captain of Manchester United to lift the Premier League. The guy is the next Duncan Edwards. Have you such a big shout? But did you see the overlap with Declan Rice and Gary Neville?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
It's actually good because I've had my dad. Look, Declan Rice is starting to grow on me. I'm seeing the influence he's had at West Ham on and off the field. My first impression of Declan Rice wasn't a good one when I saw him play, and that does stick with you. First impressions, no matter what, whether it's football or work or social aspects, will always stick with you. And my first impression of Declan Rice was a bad one. He was woeful. But I'm obviously seeing he is improving, and he's obviously a very good footballer, and I won't cry if he does join Manchester United. But I did watch that interview, and I urge everyone to go and watch the interview that does with Gary Neville. I think they just released the full version just on YouTube now. Good listener. He speaks well, and not signing someone for 100 million because they speak well. But he does look like it does look like he's got his head on his shoulders, and obviously he's leading West Ham, who are having a good season now. Obviously, we think they'll fall away, but I think they're above Manchester United at the moment. Yeah. So, just your thoughts on the Declan Rice situation at the moment, because obviously he does want to go to Chelsea, and with that, if he does want to go to Chelsea and he's the player you want. Do we really want to, if his heart is set now, obviously he's a professional footballer. If he goes to Manchester United, he would try. But if someone is that dead set on going back to Chelsea, because obviously he was at Chelsea as a kid, is that put a little bit of doubt in your mind?
100%. Look, I'm a massive fan of him. Like I said, for quite a while I've been a fan, and I think that he's just going from strength to strength as he's, like I said, for someone his age in the Premier League at a club, like West Ham, who's, like I said, they're overachieving at the moment. They've got a good squad, but they're overachieving. But he's definitely, the midfield is what runs the team for me, and he's been a solid part of that anchor of that team. I would love him at the club. Obviously, we haven't addressed our midfield, and we've been screaming for someone like him for years and years. But yes, at the end of the day, I think he would be the player. I don't think money would turn his head. I think he's got a decision. If he wanted to go back to Chelsea, unfinished business, or he loves the club, or whatever his reason is, I think he would pick them over us in money concepts. But look, mate, if we throw the money at him, he accepts it. Or we're getting a new manager, or we're saying, hey, we want to try and build a team, young player, English player. You could possibly be a captain one day, throwing it out there. Look, who knows? As long as he looks like a kind of person, but he just wants to play football and play to the best of his ability. So I think he'd make a decision with his heart. Wherever he wants to go, he'll put his mind to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, as I said, I urge everyone to go and watch the interview. It's a really good interview. And then Gary Neville sort of does throw one or two little sort of softballs for him to sort of talk about Man United. He does speak sort of very respectful of United and sort of past players. So, look, I'm sure he'll be almost, I don't want to say number one transfer target, but he'll be in that discussion. I'm sure there's no hiding from that. He will be having talks with Manchester United now. But it will be, I think, a straight shootout between United and Chelsea. The top four will obviously play a huge part in that. It does look like Chelsea will be there. We'll let you know in May if Man United are going to be
Chelsea
there.
price, United price, 150 for United, 80 or something for Chelsea. I could just see it.
No doubt. And we laugh at that, but that will be a case where West Ham will know that. And West Ham will say, okay, Chelsea, okay, we'll charge them about, they want to pay 60. Okay, we'll charge them 80. Where United, look, they need him. That's 100 million. They're willing to go to 100. Well, if someone's willing to go to 100, they're willing to go 120, 130. And that'll happen, unfortunately. But just comment here from Matt here saying, has anyone seen, just on the talking about interviews and documentaries, anyone see the Rooney documentary? I saw they had I obviously haven't seen it, but I saw they had the premiere. I think I saw Phil Jones, Harry Maguire, Marcus Rashford, and a few others are out. So I'm sure that'll be a great watch. Obviously, everyone has seen the trailers. And I think when you go back and look at those trailers, we'll watch the trailer and it has clips and highlights. Wayne Rooney's a fascinating one because obviously on Saturday night, the Sports Club will be watching the Brian Robson documentary, which will be great. But in these more modern times with Wayne Rooney, I look at it and when I watch that trailer, Rob, in my opinion, he's a club legend. He's a weird one where he kind of divides opinion amongst some of the fan base in terms of the Scouser in him and sort of wanting to leave for, I don't think he ever wanted to leave for Manchester City, but that story where he wanted to leave for Manchester City or even Chelsea. And so people do question his sort of legendary status. However, it's not up for debate for me. However, I do look back at some of the moments in that clip, in the sort of highlight packages. What a player we witnessed with Wayne Rooney. Like, I think he gets so overlooked. Like we look at these great players. I look back at Wayne Rooney and think, oh my God, we witnessed just sheer greatness.
Yeah, and like we're spoiled at the time, obviously, but like I said, looking back now, just like exactly what you said, what a player, and like he was one of those players as well that kind of just, when we bought a new player, he always accommodated for the new player. Like I said, we had to drift out here, or he never always had to play his position. So, he's our leading goal scorer. I think he could have had a lot more if he was played in his position, his favorite position for most of his career. But again, he's definitely his legendary status for me is not even up for question.
Yeah, definitely. Just in regards to the Premier, that bloody Maguire gets his head everywhere except on the end of a cross and scoring a goal. He was there front and centre of the pitch. Actually, if he gets his head on all the crosses, they just don't go anywhere near the goal. He wins so many of the headers that you think he should be dangerous, but
I think for shits and giggles, we should just have a challenge and just not score off a set piece or a corner for the rest of the season.
I'm actually enjoying not scoring. Weirdly, I'm actually enjoying not scoring from the corners now. I want to see, because a couple of weeks ago I was at 100. I'm thinking, well, if we're at 100 now, maybe when can we get to 200? Can we get to 200 before the end of the season?
I love how every time we get a corner, like especially late in the game, the commentators like, they haven't scored all year, United, plus 100 plus corners. Can they do it now? And we're like, we're already shaking our heads before they've already taken the corner.
We already know. We're already looking back at sort of the counter-attack. So vulnerable on the counter-attack when we have a corner. And I think there was one more I want to sort of go to, Emad as well, just in regards to Declan Rice, which I just want to come back onto the next part of the Declan Rice discussion. But Rice has nothing on McTominay. Tom knows this. So me and Emad will have a very McTominay love in tomorrow night over a few beers. But on that Declan Rice, we'll sort of move on. And he was in the news a couple of days ago, scored a goal for Nottingham Forest, James Garner. He's a weird situation now because he's doing so well, not just this year, but he was fantastic last season in his 2 loan spells. Just want to draw up whatever scenario you think James Garner comes back to Man. Obviously, he's going to come back to, well, you think he'd come back to Manchester United, but in what scenario does he play and play consistently and prove maybe to have a career at Manchester United? Is that under Ralph Rangnick? Is that under Ten Hag? Is that under Pochettino? Or do you just think it's a case of, we're looking now with Hannibal. Okay, Hannibal's come to the first team. Every game is a cup final. He's simply not going to play. Can you see a situation where they want to bring James Garner back, but pinning your hopes? Let's say we'd sign a Declan Rice for 100 million. You're not going to play James Garner in there. You're going to play the £100 million signing. So just your thoughts on the James Garner situation. Is there a scenario where he does come back and plays consistently?
I think yes.
Or is given a chance to play consistently?
Yes. For me, yes. And I think he's done it the right way. When you get to a point where, instead of bumming around in under 23s or whatever, he's gone out, he's continued his trade, he wants minutes, he's gone to the championship. We all know that's a very good experience. He gets a lot of minutes there. He's a quite important player for Forest. And for him to come back, for me, I'd be giving him a chance. Not to go, like I said, even if we signed a Declan Rice or didn't start a Declan Rice, he's not going to come in and start for me. But I would definitely have him on my bench and someone that should be, I think you can definitely be a useful player to improve the team. And especially in midfield, we haven't really got a great amount. Like I said, Matic is not going to be any younger.
Well, George is saying he Garner replacement for Matic next season.
Exactly. Well, I didn't even say that one. But yeah, like I said, Matic is not getting any younger. He's going to get less minutes. I don't know how long he's got. He must be running down his contract.
I think Matic is one of the players out of contract, yeah.
There you go. So I really would be surprised if we re-signed him. And look, he's got age on his side. So for me personally, I know there's a bit of a bit of the love story behind it. I'd love to see him on the bench and be a useful player for United one day. Like I said, for me, he's deserved it. Go out, get more experience, don't sit on your bum, and earn your stripes kind of thing to try and get a spot.
Look, I'd love to see him come back. Look, I think he's a great player. He's obviously a great talent, and proving yourself in the championship, that's a good thing. Okay, you can go prove yourself in the Dutch league or Germany, whatever. Doing it in the championship, the main thing is just that physicality. Whether you play well or don't play well, can you hold up to the rigors of the game? And he's doing that and obviously performing very well. I'm not sure where are Forest in the league. Do you know?
Six.
So they're in and around. Yep. That'll be fascinating if they happen to go up. Would Man United say, okay, we'll keep him on loan for another season? He's pretty much been pivotal in Nottingham Forest promotion. So fingers crossed he does do well. Before we move on to just one or two more, obviously back to Wayne Rooney, ugly bear here. Would you take Wayne Rooney as the next Man United manager? Let's say he does the miracle, Rob, and Pochettino wins the Champions League at PSG. He wants to stay there. Ralph Rangnick, by all reports, does like Ten Hag, but there have been false stories. He doesn't like Ten Hag, or Ajax have another scandal, and he's off the case. They wouldn't make the same. I'm not saying it would be a mistake, but in hindsight, Solskjaer was a mistake. They wouldn't make the same mistake, would they? Or could you see a situation where they would?
I could definitely see them making a mistake, and you could see it straight away. United legend. Let's bring him back. He's won all the trophies with United. Like the same story they kind of done us with Ollie. Look, I actually think he's doing a really good job at Derby. Then and if he does do that, a miracle. That it really is a miracle. I would like honestly one day I would really like to if he continues. And he said it the other day. I would really love to manage United or Everton one day, but I still think it's really early on in his career, and for himself, I think it'd be a bit of a risk making the jump that leap that soon. Down the track, I'd love to see it. Let him get a little bit more experience under his belt.
I think the main thing he needs, and I don't know, so someone could tell me about sort of his time at Derby and his managerial and coaching career. I think what he needs now, not now, obviously he's doing very well with Derby. Before a Man United job, he needs a setback. He needs, I don't want to say like go get sacked from a job or anything, but he needs to go through a tough spell. Now, obviously, in terms of tough spells, he's in the ultimate tough spell at the moment. But in regards to results and sort of, obviously, he's in a relegation battle. But you know what I mean? It's they're not a relegation battle team. I think he needs that sort of setback and how he reacts to that. But ultimately, in terms of the cards he's been dealt with now, he's dealing very well with them. So can only give him credit. And I think one day Andy's saying, 3 to 5 years away from United manager. And I think that's about right. And that's not to say in 3 to 5 years I want him, but you obviously assess the situation then. And look, we've been burnt with Ollie. I think Ollie did a good job. But yes, ultimately we're burnt with that. However, it's still what I want to see. I understand you need to go in different directions, but there is something about sort of the romanticism amongst football. And you do. I look back post-Fergie, one of my best memories was Ryan Giggs walking out against Norwich. It was just one thing. It wasn't a trophy. We were sitting in 7th or 8th in the ladder. But that moment was just, there was goosebumps. And it's little things like that. Like, yes, it wasn't a trophy, but they're moments that just stick with you.
Yep. Yeah, no, look, you never know what happens. We get a new manager. It doesn't go right. They could do something like what happened with Frank Lampard. He was doing good, coincidentally, at Derby.
Yeah.
Club legend. Spot opens up. Bring him in. It'll shut the fans up. Make the Glazers happy. We could all see that scenario happening one day.
Yeah, definitely. Now, before we go on to the Southampton preview, or just the sort of starting 11 predictions to wrap up, just one more topic on one of the actually Matt just brings up here character manager. I'm obviously not saying character manager, but all this talk about the coaching issues at Manchester United in previous months. Ipswich are doing well with Kieran McKenna. That's not to say he should have stayed at Manchester United.
I've seen so many people jump on him, bring him back.
Yeah.
I'm like, relax.
Yeah, they're definitely not to say he shouldn't have left. Obviously, he should have left with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but something, and I held sort of no ill will towards Kieran McKenna, so I'm actually glad he's doing well. But it just goes to show, like, and again, not to say that he deserved to stay at Manchester United, but he obviously had something about him. He's obviously doing very well. Some managers or coaches are suited to management, not coaching. And obviously he was a very good coach with coach/manager with the youth teams. So maybe his preferred role is a manager and maybe didn't suit that to the coaching role in a senior setup. But if you are enjoying the video, please do leave a like on the video, enjoying the interaction with everyone for this Friday Night Pint. And if you are new, if you could hit subscribe, that would be great. Now, before we get into the starting 11s for the Southampton game, I saw it pop up a couple of hours ago on Twitter. And again, not to say this is valid news in regards to the source that has come out, but here it is. It's on Twitter, so it is news. Cristiano Ronaldo is set for he wants to meet his agent. His agent, I think, is close to his best friend. So I'm sure he has his number. I'm sure he doesn't need to sort of get in contact with a few people to organise a meet. I'm sure he can pick up a phone and give him a ring or send him a text about constructing an exit plan away from Manchester United. Just your thoughts on we discuss this every week, but every opinion does change every week in regards to a result against Burnley. We're out of the top four. Top four's gone. Then Tottenham lose. Oh, hang on, top four's maybe back on. So it does change very quickly. Just the current Ronaldo situation. I said on there a couple of weeks ago that I think if we finish 5th or finish 6th, the common consensus is Ronaldo will leave. I just have a feeling with the options around with Messi at PSG, which I know they have a lot of money. I think that would. I can't see a club having both of them there, and I just don't see the options. I think he would stay, even if it's now. Again, my opinion, very much it could change against Southampton. I could see Ronaldo storm off the pitch and he's gone. But my current opinion is that even if we don't make the top 4, he stays. But just your thoughts of the situation.
We've talked about this before, Tom, and I don't want to be negative, but for me, no top 4, no Ronaldo, and I strongly feel about that. I can see Kylian Mbappe to Real Madrid, an opening for their number 7, an opening for Messi and Ronaldo to play each other. For Ronaldo, he'll be thinking another league in a different country, another piece of history I can add to my collection. I could see Zidane possibly going to PSG. I've said that as well, and I could see a Poch moving to us. So, like they said, the big domino effect. I could see all that happening. A scenario if we didn't get Champions League football, just because Ronaldo, like I said, if it's FA Cup, if it's a League Cup, he really wants to win something with United. He's come back at his age. That would probably be, any kind of cup or any kind of success with United now. I reckon he would put right up there with his career at that age, in the Premier League, doing that again, kind of thing. So, for me, Mr. Champions League, I don't think he's going to hang around to be Mr. Europa League, if I'm being honest.
PSG, whether you want to look at this from a manager's point of view and whether Poch is going to be there next season or not, or just the owner's point of view and the sort of the football direction, Ronaldo and Messi in the same team. Is that something?
It's a marketing thing.
But is it a marketing, because PSG, they do want to get things right on the field, but they do have to, while they're a big club, they're not Bayern Munich, they're not Manchester United, they're not Liverpool. I think they're still sort of working that way into that bracket. And they're kind of not well liked amongst Europe's elite in regards to the way they've gone about their business, in Manchester City as well. Do you think that... I can't see it happening. I don't see a situation where they have both of them at the club. I assume Ronaldo obviously took a little bit of a pay cut to come to Manchester United, but that surely wouldn't be the case at PSG. So they've got two players there, and what's the situation with Neymar? They're going to have a lot of players, and if one club can pay that, but in terms of, obviously, no one's cracking down on financial fair play, but if they should be cracking down on financial fair play, it just makes it very hard. And look, from a footballing point, from a Man United fan's point of view, which is the first thing, I obviously don't want to see it, but from any football fan's point of view, we've all for the last 20 years wanted to see Messi and Ronaldo play together. I'm just thinking, from the players' point of view, they've obviously got a huge respect for each other, but there's no hiding from the fact that there's a rivalry between the two.
100%.
Obviously, it's crossed their mind, but from Messi's hat or Ronaldo's hat, whatever way you want to look at it, do they want to play together?
Who knows? Like I said, for us, it's a rivalry, but we've always seen those little, digs, when they made the Galaxy 11s, let's make a real life kind of thing. I don't know. I just think, as like I said, for Ronaldo, it's just another opportunity for him to make more history. And we all know he's about records. To be the only player to do it in England, Spain, Italy, and France now, to win the cups in all, he could probably go to PSG and win another domestic treble there. He could probably go for more goals there. He's going to play Champions League football there, which is a big thing for him. Like I said, the Champions League football for me is the big carrot. I'll honestly be amazed. I know it'll be a beautiful love story if he stays, but if we're in Europa League next year and he stays, I think the respect for him and for his loyalty, I think will go up another notch.
No, definitely. Before we move on to the Southampton game, I've seen a lot of comments in regards to the Ronaldo situation. Emad here saying he's about as useful as the statues we have out front of Old Trafford. So, Emad, you were sitting next to me when Ronaldo scores. Make sure you sit next to me on Saturday night. That'll be some fun viewing. And I'm sure Larry will rub it in as well. But on to the Southampton game. We'll try and quickly wrap it up. Let us know your... Actually, Matt here's saying, another thing, do you think this, before we move on, do you think this has an impact in regards to the future? Now, obviously, a junior contract is nothing. Ronaldo would tear that up in a heartbeat sort of to move on. Is it a sign of not setting down roots? Obviously, in a year's time, Ronaldo will be going away. But in terms of, he's got a young family. Obviously, his missus is pregnant. Is that a situation where it will influence his decision?
For me, again, no, unfortunately. I've seen the same thing at Juventus, the exact same thing, and Juventus fans got the exact same, he's playing, he's scoring 5 goals a game, he's got the 7, he's going to take his father's thing. Wherever Ronaldo moves, his family will move with him. They're pretty happy as long as they're together. If he moves to PSG, I'm sure PSG are going to give him a contract with the number 7 with Ronaldo back as well. Yeah. So, look, I seen it today. I'm like, I showed my missus, like, oh, look, we got, the next Ronaldo Jr., he's going to stay, the love story, but, 2 hours on a plane if there's no Champions League possibly, and he's going to have a PSG jersey with Ronaldo Jr. in the back as well.
No, definitely. So on to the Southampton games. Obviously, not long till we play them. Obviously, as I said, the Man United Supporters Club here, rare Saturday night kickoff for us. So we will be at Scruffy Murphy's, 11:30 kickoff. If you are in Sydney, feel free to come down. More the better. As I said, we're due a win at the pub, so fingers crossed it does happen. But we'll go into starting 11s, and I'll just throw yours up, Rob, which you sent through a little bit earlier. just talk us through this one, because obviously we have both, I'll give my sort of 2 cents as well, both dropped Harry Maguire. Just bring it up here, talk us through it. Obviously, I'm pretty sure I've said the photo I brought up at the start of the podcast. Alex Tellez, I think, has recovered from COVID, but I think Fred might have COVID.
He's
So
both had it.
recovering.
He's still positive, correct? So,
look, my main question with this one is, and I'll get to Marcus Rashford in a little bit and the issue around that, but the shape of the midfield. Can you see a situation? Because McTominay is sitting up by himself, in my opinion.
Well, again, I would have went for a 4-3-3. I don't know if is that the way you set it up? The one I was thinking, I meant to be a 4-2-3-1. I do think he'll play a little bit more like Ronaldo's a 10. The boys sitting a bit closer, but they're going to intertwine. Look, I think McTominay had the knock during the week. I think he will be rushed back if he's available, especially with Fred out. He'll start. Pogba, for me, has to start. I've been impressed since he's on his return, both games. I think he's been good. Unfortunately, we haven't had the results to make him look even better. Bruno is a 10. Let him do his stuff. I gave you that today between Rashford and Sancho. Me personally, I like Sancho and Rashford switched the other way around. I've only put it that way because from the past 2 games, that's what Ralph has done. So I might as well do what I think he's going to do again. Me personally, I think Rashford's better off the left. I think Sancho's better off the right. But Sancho at the same time has been playing quite well off the left as well. And as we were talking about before, if that right-hand side is available, I do think Rashford gets that over Elanga. Ronaldo definitely starts this game for me, especially after coming off the bench and having a little bit of a rest midweek.
Yeah, well, I think there's been, and rightly so, I think we're all on the same page, but rightly no discussion as we've both dropped the Manchester United captain.
I didn't even say, sorry, yes. If Lindelof's fit and...
oh, no, look, we've had that discussion and we'll completely agree and sort of move on. My question's around the defence, the 2 fullbacks. I think it's so weird now. We're just kind of just going Tellez and Delo. And Luke Shaw's been in and out and sort of played well at times and not well at times, but Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I've almost forgotten what he looks like.
Yeah. And
but Diego Delo's just playing every week now.
Look, I was when we bought Aaron, I was pretty happy, man. And I think, like I said, especially as a defender, first and foremost, that's what you need to do. He's a great defender, but I just think, the modern footballer now, he's got to bomb up and down. I think Dalot's got that little bit more skill set to him, and definitely his contribution in crossing is definitely a lot higher than Aaron's. At the moment, like you said, I feel like he's just going to play every game because I haven't even seen photos nearly of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, even in training. I just feel like he's a forgotten man. I think it's a little bit more 50-50 with Tellez, but I think Tellez would have played last game if he didn't have COVID. So I think Ralph prefers him. So if he's fit and available, I think he starts over Shaw.
Yeah, well, it was Ralph's first piece of business when he did come in. The first thing he did, we're talking about midfield and strikers and Maguire, should he play high line? The first thing he did was change of fullbacks. He had new first choice fullbacks first week in. Now, obviously, they've been chopping and changing a little bit, but you can definitely tell that was his first decision. So I'll just bring mine up here and look, same midfield, but obviously Pogba maybe a little bit more advanced because McTominay is sitting by himself, and I don't like McTominay in that role. I prefer him where Paul Pogba is, and maybe that's where we'll see him next year, depending on the investment in midfield. But what we can have questions over that midfield. However, if you do look at it from a manager's point of view, you look at the last 2 games, while not great opposition in Middlesbrough and Burnley, and sort of disappointing results and disappointing goals to concede. We're not conceding a lot of chances. So I think the manager he's liking the balance in that midfield at the moment. Yeah,
and look, on paper, I love that. Like I said, for me, I know you like to see Scott a little bit more as an 8, like I said, a little bit more advanced or a little bit more box to box. I like him in the 6, and if he can adapt his game a little bit more in the 6, just sit there. But he's got to be disciplined. He's got to sit there and he's just got to do his job like a Kante. Just sit there, win the ball back, give it forward, and let the boys do what they want to do. We all know Pogba's not going to defend, so he shouldn't be anywhere near that 6. He needs to be playing an 8 or even around the 10 position. Similar situation with Bruno. Every now and then, I'd actually prefer, obviously, Bruno to drop a little bit deeper to help out Scotty than a Pogba, if I'm going to be honest. And, he can pick a pass all over the pitch as well. So, for me, Scotty's going to have to play tomorrow. I don't see anyone else. I was talking to Larry, actually, before I showed him the team as well, and he says, is there a shout for Matic? And
I said, that's what I was thinking, maybe.
Well, me, I'm a massive fan of Matic, but again, with if Scotty's available, I think Ralph is, he's one of his favorites. And as we've seen, I'm not the biggest fan of Scotty, but I'll put him in my team. The thing with Matic is it's just he's too in and out, and he's a great player, but when you're not getting the minutes, you can't expect a player to be consistent. He comes in one day, he plays great. He comes in, he plays crap, and then he doesn't play for another 6 games, kind of thing. So I think the consistency in minutes is hard to make a big swap. I think if McTominay is fit, he plays.
Yeah, look, I think it's one of those ones, and as disappointing as I said, as disappointing as the last 2 results have been, I think from the manager's point of view, he's probably actually been quite pleased in how we've played. Now, the execution at the back and the execution in the final third has been wrong, but in terms of the balance of play, has been quite good. Now, Southampton will obviously be a far bigger test than Burnley and Middlesbrough, but yeah, I think Ralph Rangnick is happy with that midfield, and obviously it's not the future in terms of Paul Pogba could be out the door in 6 weeks' time, and are we going to invest in the midfield, and that puts sort of Scott McTominay's starting 11 future in doubt. So it's an interesting one. But my other issue, which I think you would have also maybe agree with, but obviously sort of got your Ralph Rangnick hat on what he will do, Anthony Elanga has to start for me. It's not so much Anthony Elanga has to start. Someone has to start, in my opinion, over Marcus Rashford. I would be playing even a case. Now, I was obviously biased. I'll drop Elanga. I'll play Sancho on the left. And I'll bring Juan Mata in on the right-hand side. Now, ultimately, that might be the wrong decision, but that is something I will do. Just at the moment, I don't want to see Marcus Rashford playing it. And again, I'll go back to the start of the podcast. I hate for saying that because I do love Marcus Rashford. I feel I do go overboard at times in my criticism of him, but it has to be Elanga for me.
Look, I explained myself on he should be there. I still think Rashford will start. It's a crazy thing, but like I said, it's just he's got to do what Ralph thinks is best. And like I said, we don't see what happens behind closed doors. If Rashford trains better, for instance, he's going to get a start.
That's something we often forget, and the line gets thrown out sort of on occasions. But that is the one thing. Always with Donny van der Beek, we say, okay, when he comes on,
took the words out of my mouth. He doesn't train.
What can you do? Like there are players. Like let's say someone's proven. Like actually, there was one player who was apparently really bad at training, woeful at training. I'm sure these stories always come out. I think they might have said Gary Neville might have said it was Carlos Tevez. Carlos Tevez apparently didn't train.
I think he might have said that. He used to bum around, and then he'd come rock up on a Saturday and bang the goals and have a.
So there is a case if someone has proven evidence consistently that they're going to put the effort in and perform and succeed. Okay, you can understand it. Or if it's even a Ronaldo, if it was an Eric Cantona, a type of figure like that, and they have the trust of the manager and the dressing room, it can on occasions, I guess, you can excuse it. But there might have been a case, and we don't know this, and we sort of refuse to believe it because we know that he's a quality footballer. But Donny van der Beek, there might just been a case where he was just woeful at training. And then if you're in a dressing room, if you're in the dressing room next to him and you're training really well, and Donny van der Beek's been absolutely woeful for 5 days and suddenly he plays ahead of you, that's not right. So there might have, and I'm not saying this is the case, but it's something we just never have the answer to.
Yep, exactly right. Don't see what happens behind closed doors.
And he's on the bench at Everton, so he might have been training bad at Everton.
He come on the 60th minute the other day. That's the improvement for him instead of the 88th. So I'm sure he's loving that at the moment.
Emad here saying, question for Tom, when is my pod suspension finished? You've been talking about this pod suspension. I don't know if Larry's private messaged you and suspended you without my notice. But please send me through the details of maybe did he give you a letter, sort of letter format? I'll have a read over it. I'll let you know. But maybe Saturday night, if we win, of course. If that free kick does fly in late on, I don't think we'll be doing a podcast. Larry and I will probably suspend ourselves. But Matt here, how did Berbatov train? He would have been interesting to see because obviously such a class player. I don't know what their trainings would have been like, that 08-09 team, in terms of obviously they would have been training hard and it would have been intense. But there also would have been a case of they were just that much better than everyone. You'd assume they'd coast a little bit at training and just because obviously they're in all the competitions. They went deep in all the competitions. There wouldn't have been that much training. They would have all known each other's job. You couldn't imagine Sir Alex Ferguson on the training ground sort of going through tactics like Ralph Rangnick would be doing now in terms of players with absolutely no positional sense and no idea what to do, where he has to break everything down like sort of coaching 12-year-olds. That wasn't the case back then. Everyone knew their job, just go out and be good. And it would have been quite easy, but it would have been interesting to see how those guys did train. There are a few more shouts in here. Emad saying Viduka was terrible at training. What a gun on game day. I think he was also very close to joining Manchester United. Sir Alex Ferguson did want to buy him from Leeds. I think it was around that sort of, obviously when Leeds were getting relegated sort of down towards the bottom, 04-05 time. I think that would have been a good one. What a player. I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, he obviously did play for Leeds, but Alan Smith came from Leeds to Man United and did very, very well. Got Leeds coming up at the end of February. So we're all talking about Atletico Madrid in this massive game. I think a lot of people are overlooking that Leeds game, not only for the rivalry, but it's just chaos when you play Leeds, no matter who they play. It was a 3-3 draw.
Against Villa, I think it was, yeah.
I think Dan James scored a double and apparently
I
should have had a
know.
hat-trick or something.
Yeah. That was a really good game. I tuned into that. Yeah, I think Dean James, and yeah, he scored a little dodgy header for the second goal. And I do have to say, Coutinho, he had a cracker game, a goal and 2 assists. He's been good so far for them.
Yeah, Andy here saying Lingard is in the naughty corner until he stops posting West Ham picks. Yeah, look, I like Jesse Lingard. I was disappointed that he came on against Burnley. I just thought it's something about those West Ham pitches I just don't like. Yep. I'm sure when he comes on the field and when he's training, he's 100% and he loves the club. I just don't like it, especially if he was posting these pictures and he had a 5-year contract. I thought, okay, he's going through a little period. He'll get over it. When he starts playing football, he'll get over it. He'll move on. Because he's out of contract and he looks very likely he's going to leave, I just think, well, he's posting the pictures he doesn't want to be. I'm not happy with Jesse Lingard getting minutes at the moment, even if it's the right decision football-wise from the manager. Like at the start of the season, Dan James, I wanted to sell Dan James. However, in the first game of the season against Leeds, I said, okay, I know he's going, but I'll be playing him in this game. I just think it suits him.
I was honestly thinking the other day, I'm like, you know what? I'd still have Dan James on our bench.
Did Dan James started that first game of the season, did he? I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, he did. He did. But I don't know why I said the other day, I'm like, you know what? I'll take him back on the bench because, you know what? He wasn't the greatest of footballer, but he did wear his heart on his sleeve and he gave 100% for the badge. You know what I mean? He ran his heart out. I know, like I said, technically he wasn't a great player, but I would have him right now. I would, like I said, I would have him in front of a Lingard. For me, exactly the same.
It comes down to those things in terms of ability, but obviously if someone's got the ability and it's not working, because we as fans, we can't go out onto the pitch and cross a ball or shoot a ball or tackle like one of the other professionals. What we can do is 100% effort. Now their 100% effort might look more than us in terms of they'll be able to sprint longer and faster and more consistently, but they won't put more effort in. Our effort might only last 2 or 3 minutes where they can do it for 90 minutes, but we can do the same thing as them. And it's just one of those things so we can relate to a Dan James, but a Jesse Lingard, okay, he's got not all the ability in the world, but obviously a very talented footballer, and sometimes just doesn't have everything about him. So I think that's where a lot of the frustration does stem from. But Dan James, look, I think it was the right decision to let him go. But sometimes frustration when you see some of the other players staying around. He looks like one playing in regards to Dan James off a reality TV show. Look, it was so frustrating at times, especially in defence. His positional awareness and pressing. He's the one player I think a lot of people thought, oh yeah, he's really good at pressing because he sprints. I think he's the worst presser in the team. He had absolutely no idea.
Herrera, the one-man press with Herrera. Same thing. Oh my God.
We've got the players like that, Ander Herrera, Dan James, and probably the biggest culprit is Bruno Fernandes. But Bruno Fernandes in that deeper role, sort of in that midfield three, is staying a lot more, which I think is why Ralph Rangnick is liking it, because we're playing with 3 midfielders. So when we used to have Bruno in that role and he pressed the goalkeeper, when there are 2 midfielders. So having 3 midfielders is just it's simple maths, but it's so much more solid in the midfield, which I think is why that 4-3-3 will continue. Because we are playing quite well.
In the first half, anyway. All the first halves are great.
Yeah, we just need to stop defensive mistakes and obviously score a few goals, because we do have all this quality and put the ball in the back of the net and the greatest goal scorer of all time, but he is in a bit of a bad patch of form at the moment, so he needs to get that right. Fingers crossed it does happen on Saturday night. As we did say, Saturday night is 11:30 kickoff here in Sydney for Manchester United against Southampton. We'll be at Scruffy Murphy's in Sydney, so if you are in the live chat or watching on delay, feel free to send us a message. We'll let you know the details on because obviously we're going to watch a Brian Robson film ahead of time, and there'll be a few Brian Robson sort of raffles and prizes we'll be doing throughout the night, and you have to be there to win. Obviously, it'll all be drawn at full time. And as I said, a lot of guys in the live chat and sort of our sort of United Pubcast sort of group chat on Facebook will be meeting for dinner ahead of the game. And as I said, Rob, whatever happens in the game, fingers crossed it does go well. But I think most of us, it's off the game. Who cares what's happening in the game? We're mainly just worried about the feed before the match.
100%. And look, with Stuart Atwell as referee, we're already starting to go behind.
I saw a good meme saying Stuart Atwell in charge. We're going to have to score 18 goals to win 2-1 because they're all going to be disallowed.
I said the only positive, like I said, I think the Aussie guy Jared Gillett is the VAR tomorrow, so I'm hoping.
What did you think of? I don't think it was him. Was it him? The Arsenal game this morning. I don't think was it him who gave the 2 yellow cards in the same play? Did you see that with Martinelli?
I seen that. Like, I think it was because they went to throw the ball in. He went to stop the ball, and then he actually fouled him. So it would have been But yeah, I've never kind of seen that
First
before.
time I've ever seen it, and I'm not even sure that scenario is drawn up in the rule book. And me and Larry discussed on who sort of drew up the rule book and if that's the right or wrong decision. I don't think that situation would actually be in there because it was so weird and unique. However, I look at it and think it's the right decision because it's a yellow card offence. He said, okay, yellow card offence, play on. I'll come back and bring it. When the play stopped for the second yellow card offence, I thought I can understand if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be saying, hang on. I think the one case Arsenal fans had, which I heard a good point, one of them talking about was he didn't know he was on a yellow card. If he knew he was on a yellow card, would he commit that second foul? And that's an interesting sort of way to look at it, which is one I would be using if I was an Arsenal fan. However, I do look at it just from first instinct. I thought 2 yellow card offences, it was the right decision. But it was a weird one. It's weird in football, like decisions like that, like you'd never see in 100 years, then they happen. You think, there's always something that's sort of brings up and a little surprise that you didn't know.
I'm still cranky Wolves didn't get an equaliser in that game.
They should have. The last a player I really like, and I don't know if this is off the back of his unfortunate injury, but Raul Jimenez is a player I've always liked. He's not the same now. Nah,
he's not, man. It's a mental thing, but you barely see him score a goal anymore, man. Like I said, after that, he was out for the game, big cracked head or whatever it was. But yeah, mentally, he will never be the same.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Look, that's obviously still professional footballer for Wolves. I'm sure he's still got a little bit about him, but Wolves really should have made that sort of pressure count. And well, I don't know. Obviously, not good to see Arsenal win, but I know Wolves are still in and around it, so maybe it's good if Wolves drop some points.
I still think it would have been good if they dropped points.
Arsenal drop points.
We've got a little bit of a buffer over Wolves, but freaking Arsenal, especially when one of your good mates is Scotty, you got to face him on the pod next week. Yeah. I was like, come on Wolves, come on, get a freaking goal.
No, I think as every United fan is the same. And as Rob just says, obviously on It's a Football Thing, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays discuss all the Premier League action. So there is a link in the description. If you aren't subscribed, it takes 2 seconds. Just scroll down and give them a subscribe. And a few more in the chat here. Matt here saying, tell me more about that feed. I think we do have one spot left, but Matt here saying, don't ask, it's taken us 4 days to agree on where to go. And we're eating on the other side of Sydney. And you can blame Larry for that, but send us a message on Instagram and I'll let you know what's happening. There is one spot left, and will it be upstairs or downstairs at the pub tomorrow night? I think don't take my word for it.
Once it was like 10 o'clock, we kind of moved upstairs or whatever it was.
I have a feeling it might be downstairs just because we're going to watch that film. But Saturday night, I'm not sure. Men on the ground level, we'll know. It's not a far walk up or downstairs. I'm sure everyone will see the Man United shirts. And Man United shirts. Whenever we go out to watch a match at the pub, Rob, I think the first decision is what are you going to wear? Because I think you don't often get to wear a Man United shirt on here. But where else sort of can you wear it? So I think 94, 95 shirt for me. That's always my go-to classic.
Well, I'm going super with all my superstitions. I'm not going to give a prediction tonight because every time I do a preview and give a prediction, we've never won. So, and every time I've gone to the pub, I always wear a home kit. So tomorrow night I'm wearing a Ronaldo away kit. This season's Ronaldo away kit. This season.
I hope it doesn't happen. Someone by accident is probably just going to throw a shirt on. They're going to have Greenwood on the back. I can see it.
Oh my God. We don't need that. We don't need that.
I hope it doesn't have it. Just by mistake, just throw a shirt on and got Greenwood on the back. Fingers crossed not. So make sure you do double check if you are going. But hopefully everyone did enjoy this coming on an hour. So Rob, first of all, appreciate your time. It's supposed to go for 30, 35 minutes. But as I said, Friday Night Pint just sort of goes off a little bit in different tangents. But a good discussion as always, mate.
No, look, I always love making an appearance on the podcast. I'm pumped for tomorrow night. Praying United turn up and just give us some pub, something to have another drink of or talk about after the game, for instance, because we're going to turn up before the game and have a great one. Let's just hope we get a result just to top the night off.
Yeah, definitely. It's always one of those that sort of have this great night. The result happens and everyone just pisses off. It would be good to sort of stay back and sort of watch the highlights on the TV and have a chat about the game. And fingers crossed it all goes well. But hopefully everyone did enjoy the video. Please do leave a like on the video. That would be great. And if you are new, if you could click subscribe, that would be great. And Andy here saying he's the pub Scruffy Murphys. That would be correct, mate. Let us know. I actually don't know where you are, Andy, if you are in Sydney or not. Let us know. Get in touch. And be good to obviously catch up. But until then, we will be back either at the pub. We'll do something at the pub, or if not, on a bit later on Sunday night. But hope everyone has a good weekend. Cheers. Cheers, Rob.
Cheers. Good night.